Now we'll move on to our next project. Go to File menu and click on Open. Select the file called 10_p and press Enter. In this part of the course, we'll try to make this logo. We'll also try to analyze, explain and practice all the tools and options we'll use. Switch to the Circle tool and hold Ctrl to draw a circle. We already know that there are two ways to make a hoop. We can make it out of an outline, or we can copy the circle. Select the circle and press the plus key on the numeric keypad. Now hold Shift and drag the transformation point and downscale the figure. If we wouldn't hold Shift, the circle would be resized and it would also change its position. The center of the figure was moved, so we now need to align it with a bigger circle. Select both figures and go to Align section on the property bar and align them vertically and horizontally. If we hold the Shift key when we scale, the center of a figure won't change its position. Duplicate the circle. It'll serve us as a backup. Select both circles and change their color. Now we have two options. We can either use Combine or Trim icons. Let's try the first, Combine icon. We already know that the Combine merges the selected objects together and deletes their overlapping part. In our case, the smaller circle made a hole in the bigger circle, creating a hoop figure. Press Ctrl Z. Let's now try the Trim icon. Although it will have a similar effect, Combine and Trim are two different tools. Please remember about this. Select both circles and click on the Trim icon. Click on an empty space to deselect the figures. Now we can move the inner circle and reveal the effect of trimming. Let's talk about the difference between trimming and combining. Trim will cut the bottom figure. Let's now combine the same set of figures. As you can see, the result is different. In this case, the overlapping part was deleted. Let's now talk about another possibility. Downsize one circle and place it inside the bigger circle. Now both options have similar results. Well, almost the same. Select the first pair and click on the Trim icon. Select the second pair and click on Combine icon. Click on an empty space to deselect and move the inner circle to the side. Just remember that these two options aren't the same. Trim and Combine differ from each other a lot. Now, let's talk about another way to create a hoop figure. The second way to make a hoop is to convert an outline into an object. So the first way to create a hoop was to draw two circles and trim or combine them. Let's change the outline width to 10 mm. Let's change it to 15 mm. Now press Enter. Go to View menu and click on Wireframe. This way we'll see the whole process. Select the figure, go to Arrange menu and click on Convert Outline to Object. So now the outline was extracted from the figure and became a separate object. Go to View menu and switch back to Normal View. Delete the yellow hoop and position the black hoop at the center of the page. Well, let's go back and analyze another situation. Press Ctrl Z several times. Let's say that we now want to make this hoop width bigger and we don't want to create it again. In other words, we want to make the inner path of this figure bigger. We can do that in two ways. Let's talk about the first one. In Arrange menu, there's a Break Curve Apart option. Once we click it, two paths will be separated and the inner path will be a standalone figure. Click this option and change this circle's colour. Since the new figure is under the circle, we'll need to send the orange figure to the back. Select this circle, go to Arrange menu, then Order and click on to the back of page. Select the yellow circle. Hold Shift and downscale the figure. Select both figures and click on the Combine icon. This is one of the ways in which we can make the inner path bigger. Let's talk about the second one. Switch to Shape tool and select this upper node. Now hold Shift and select the rest of the nodes. This way we've selected all 4 nodes. Go to the View menu and switch to Wireframe View. On the property bar there's an icon called Stretch or Scale Nodes. Let's click it. Now just drag the transformation handle and downscale the path. As you can see, there's a problem. The centre of the figure was moved. Press Ctrl Z. So we need to hold Shift because it's really difficult to align nodes with path. Hold Alt and downscale the path. So this is another way in which we can change the size of this path. Switch back to normal view. Let's move on with our project. We now need to cut this figure in half. We'll do this with a 2-point line tool. Select this tool, hold Ctrl and draw a line. Why are we holding Ctrl? When we hold Ctrl, the line angle will switch its angle by 15 degrees every time we move the cursor. This way we can make a nice straight line. Now position the line where the green part of the circle will start. Remember, this line must be longer than the circle. Now position the line. It doesn't have to be in the exact same place. Select both objects. Now we'll trim the circle with the line. Remember that we trim with an open path. It's best to trim a filled figure. This way we'll be able to observe if our figure looks good. In our case, the open object is the line and the trimmed object will be the hoop. Click on the trim icon. As you can see, the figure looks good. The colour is in its place and there are no unwanted white areas. Let's move this line to the side. Our figure is now cut, but it's still not ready. Both halves are still one object. Let's now separate them. Go to Arrange menu and click on Break Curve Apart. Click on the side to deselect the figures. Now we can edit both halves separately. Let's change the upper parts of the colour to green and the lower parts to red. As you probably remember, we're working in CorelDraw X6. Why is that so important? We've just used this line to trim the circle and everything went well. We need to remember that in older versions of CorelDraw, some options may not work. Duplicate these figures and weld them together. In older versions there might be some problems with trimming the figures with open path. But overcoming these problems is really easy. All we need to do is just use the closed paths or figures for trimming. So if something was wrong and a path was caused trouble, we can just trim the object with a closed path. Let's try it now. Create a rectangle. This figure is a closed path. We'll cut this hoop with it now. That's how you should do it in CorelDraw older versions than X6. This technique can be used when there are some problems with trimming the figure with an open path. So select both figures. Click on the intersect icon. This will create a third figure. It will be placed on top of the rectangle. Select it and change its colour to yellow. As you can see, the red figure is still there, it's just hidden under the new figure. Now we'll trim the red circle with a rectangle. Select the rectangle, hold Shift, select the red circle and click on the trim icon. Now we can delete the rectangle. This way we've created the same figures with closed path. So that's how we do it in CorelDraw versions older than X6. This technique can also be helpful when there are problems with trimming with an open path. Let's try to trim something with this line again. Duplicate the green figure, place the line over it and select both objects. Now click on the trim figure. Well, we have a little problem. The line is under the green figure. If we would click the trim icon now, the line would be trimmed with the green figure. So let's select the line and move it to the top. Go to Arrange menu, then Order and click on to the front of layer. Select both figures and click on the trim icon. Now we need to ungroup these two parts. This figure is still one object. Go to Arrange menu and click on Break Curve Apart. Click on the side to deselect. Now we can move both parts separately. So the first part of the logo is ready. Now we'll create the arrows. First we'll make a simple triangle. On the property bar right here, we can change the amount of polygon points. We need a triangle, so let's change this value to 3. Now, rotate and position the triangle. Position the triangle over the ending point of the red colour and starting point of the green colour. Just rotate, scale and position until it looks good. I think mine's ready. Now let's duplicate it and move it to the other side. Hold Ctrl and drag the triangle. When we hold Ctrl, our cursor and the figure we're dragging moves on a straight line. Keep holding Ctrl and the left mouse button and click the right mouse button. Now the figure is duplicated. Let's try to flip this triangle. Click on the mirror vertically icon. We also want the tip of the triangle to be placed towards the bottom of the document. Let's click on the mirror horizontally icon. As you can see, the tip is facing the opposite direction, but the triangles are no longer aligned. Let's move this triangle down. Press Shift and F4. So, we've made another part of this figure. The left and the right arrowheads. Select the left triangle, hold Shift and select the green figure. And click on the trim icon. It's best when the triangles are not filled with colour. This way we can see what's happening with our figures. Select the right triangle, hold Shift and select the red figure. Click on the trim icon, select the left triangle, hold Shift, select the red figure and click on the world icon. Select the right triangle, hold Shift, select the green figure and click on the world icon. Now we have two figures that look like that. Let's move on and create the texts. Here we have the artistic type texts. To create them, we need to switch to the text tool and click on an empty space. Then we need to type the text. In most cases, it's better to have a separate path with text than to import it directly to the figure or figure's path. Why is that? Look at the green figure. The path of the green figure isn't a normal curved line. This path forms a bended arrow. That's why it's best to create a separate path for the text. But first, let's try to fit the text on the figure's path. Select the text, go to the text menu and click on Fit Text to Path. Now, we need to position the text. We can also flip the text by clicking on these mirror icons. Let's now move this text. The text movement is jittery. Why is that? It's because it treats the whole figure as a path. So we've positioned it like this. We managed to place it on the figure's path, but it's still not what we wanted to do. If we now scale or position the text differently, the text would, at some point, go along the path, which is shaped like a triangle. For us, it's not a problem, but it's an occasion to analyse the various situations and learn something new. Now we'll position the second text in a different way. We'll make a path for the text out of a red figure, so the second text will be on a separate path. But first we'll change the keyboard increment. This value regulates the movement of the figures, and we change its position using the arrow keys. Click on an empty space to deselect all figures. Now the contents of the property bar changed. You can change the keyboard increment right here. Let's change it to 1 mm. What does that mean in practice? Select the red figure and try to move it by pressing the up and down arrow keys. Our figure will move by 1 mm each time we press an arrow key. When a figure is selected, the keyboard increment disappears from the property bar. We need to deselect all figures first. Click on an empty space. As you can see, the contents of the property bar changed. We can now change the keyboard increments value. But if we don't want to deselect the figures, we can also go directly to the document's options. Go to Tools menu and click on Options. Now expand the document options list and go to the Rulers section. Here we can set the keyboard increments by changing the nudge value. So here we can change the keyboard increments even without deselecting the figures. On the right side there's an option called Super Nudge. Its maximal value is 99. This value indicates how far the figure will move if we use the Shift plus arrow key combination. Click OK and press F3. Select the red figure, hold Shift and press the left arrow key once. As you can see, the figure moved much further. So when we use the Shift and the arrow key, our figure moved 99 mm. Place the figure back in its place. Now we'll duplicate this figure. Press the plus key on the numeric keypad. Go to Edit menu and use options Copy and Paste, or press Ctrl C then Ctrl V. Now move the copied figure to the side. Switch to the Shape tool. We want to extract from this figure only the bottom path. Select this node right here. Well, let's first switch to wireframe view. Select this node and this node. We'll do that because we want to have only this bottom path. Click on the break curve icon. Let's switch back to normal view and see what happened. As you can see, the figure lost its colour. The figure is already cut, but it's still grouped together. When we switch to white cursor and try to move it, the whole figure will be moved. Press Ctrl Z. But let's try to move only the node. Zoom in. As you can see, we can move this node, so the figure is cut, and now we have two separate paths. So, we've cut the path out of our figure, but it's still not enough. We need to do one more thing. Go to Arrange menu and click on Break Curve Apart. So it's almost the same situation as before. When we cut the figure with Open Path, click Break Curve Apart and click on Side to deselect the figures. Now we can move both figures separately. Move the upper part, select and delete it. Our path is ready. Now we need to fit text onto it. Select the text and go to the text menu and click Fit Text to Path. Now place the text on our new path. Hold Shift and press the right key arrow twice to move the path back into the figure. So it's best to have the text on a separate path and not on the figure. This way it will save ourselves a lot of trouble. Now we can play with these icons up here and correctly position the text. Change these values to move the text up and down. Let's place it at the centre of our figure, like this. The text now moves nicely because it's on a separate path. It's not placed on the red figure and the problems with the weird object's path disappeared. All that's left is this TCO text at the centre of the logo. Switch to Text tool and click on an empty space to start creating an artistic text. Write only one letter for now, T. Scale it, make it bold and convert it to curves. Go to Arrange menu and click on Convert to Curves. Switch to Shape tool and change the position of the nose to form the T in the same way it is on the original logo. To move the node over a straight line, hold Ctrl and drag it.